The views and opinions expressed in this presentation are those of the producer and those appearing in this show and do not necessarily represent the views of DerryCAM, the town of Derry, or any of its staff or affiliates. Hi, I'm Anthony Henry. Welcome back to America's Ass. We are on episode 17. School starts tomorrow. Kind of disappointed, but summer's been great. Hope everyone had a great summer, and I hope everyone does good in school. As much as we may not like it, it is important, somewhat. Anyway, I am here today with our guest, Jim Guzofski, so feel free to introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Jim. I am running for state rep in the special election in Nottingham and Northwood. And the election's on the 17th of September, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. All right, so big topic of last week. We had filmed an episode like the day before this happened, the Republican presidential primary debate. Trump did not show, as many of you know, which some people may have mixed feelings about, some don't. But yeah, I thought all the candidates were super unique, as I expected. There's a lot of debate on whether or not Vivek Ramaswamy was too cocky. Some people think he was, and some people, like me, think he was speaking the truth. Because I think Vivek won that debate. I thought he said a lot of things that people weren't saying. Some things I disagreed with, but I thought he was very outspoken in what he said. So, what are your thoughts on the debate?
Well, I'll be honest with you, I didn't watch it. I actually watched the Tucker Carlson interview with Donald Trump that night. I saw clips and snippets online about that, and I think Vivek probably won the debate. Actually had the opportunity to see him in Concord personally at a pastor's breakfast he came to, and he's well-spoken. I was impressed meeting him and listening to what he had to say, and he speaks truth, which is refreshing today.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of the other candidates, such as Mike Pence and Chris Christie, were attacking him a lot. And Nikki Haley was also attacking him for his stances on Israel, which he did clear up. And there's also controversy with Vivek being associated with George Soros, which is not true. He was associated with his brother, who was sort of estranged from George. He had his own kind of charity to help people have a better life in America. I think that's what it was, but
yeah, I didn't even know that. That was interesting.
Yeah, some of the fellow candidates were attacking him for that. Nikki Haley, I was kind of surprised by how good she was at times. I don't like Nikki Haley a lot. I think she's a little too much of a warmongerer for me. I think she'd get us started in too many wars. Not that she's not totally good. She has a lot of good things to say. That's why I was surprised by her, but not a big fan.
Yeah, I wasn't either.
Yeah.
So.
And DeSantis, I thought DeSantis did second best behind Vivek. I thought he seemed the most presidential out of the people on the debate stage. A lot of people were glad Trump didn't show up because he's so far ahead. I still wish he did, just because I wanted to see what would happen if he did debate them.
Yeah, he's definitely an entertainer, and people miss that. And you know, I was actually able to be at the rally that he was in Wyndham, and he actually asked the crowd, should he go or not? And we all chanted no. So he says, all right, I'll take your cue. And I don't know if that was just to play with us or whatever, if he had already decided. But yeah, I mean, when you're that far ahead, and you know, you want to wheedle it down to the couple three that would be left. So it's probably a wise move. Plus, he has a record to run on. People know who he is and what he's about. So it was probably a good move that he didn't go, because then it would have all been about him and just attacking him.
Yeah, that is true. And plus, there would have been opportunity for him to make an error himself. He could have said something that would have made people not like him, possibly.
Right.
Because that is one of my only issues with Trump. There's a lot of times where he has way too big of a mouth, and he ends up making himself look bad when he didn't need to.
Right.
And that's the problem a lot of people have. Because he does a lot of good, but sometimes he just talks too much, and it, you know, makes him not look too good.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go, yeah.
And as for the other candidates, such as Chris Christie and Mike Pence, Was not impressed. I thought Pence was the arrogant one, really. He was interrupting the moderator quite a bit. Christie was just doing Christie stuff. I thought Vivek made him look terrible when he pointed out that Christie's out for vengeance when Christie tried to throw that on Vivek. I thought that was fun. And yeah, Burgum, Tim Scott, what's his face, Asa Hutchinson, they didn't say much at all. At least nothing impressive. So.
Yeah, I got to see Asa Hutchinson speak at another meeting I was at too. He was there. And yeah, it was just nothing to, it sounds bad, but there was like nothing there. He didn't really capture my attention. I went wandering off and talking with a couple other people that wanted to talk with me. So yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how it fleshes out though.
Yeah, and I know you are outspoken for Trump. Who do you think has the second best chance of getting in? Because many people thought it was DeSantis, but Vivek is making a push. Nikki Haley's making a push of her own.
Yeah, I would think Vivek may. I think he might do well up here. I don't know what happens when he gets to the Midwest and down south maybe. But yeah, I was impressed with him. I mean, and when you're in a room, the thing I was impressed with, because he was sitting in a room with preachers, and he was asking for questions, and when everyone asked questions, he says, "There's one question I'm surprised I didn't get." And he actually said it. He says, "I'm not a Christian." And I kind of took that like, why are you saying that in a group of preachers? You know, we kind of know, okay, you come from an Indian background. We understand your religious background. I didn't quite know why he brought it up, but I thought that was a pretty bold move to say that in that group and then explain, you know, his belief system was pretty impressive. And that's what I like. He comes across to me having more integrity than some of the others. He just wants to be real.
Yeah.
And here it is. That's kind of what I do too. I'm not so concerned about my appointment. It's like my opponent. It's here I am. This is me, and I'm just going to be real with you. So that impressed me about Vivek.
And he's a lot like Trump in some ways because he's a businessman that's never ran for public office.
Right.
And yeah, and some people think Trump may choose him as a VP. What do you think of that?
That's a good question. It may be interesting. I've wondered who he may pick. But yeah, that's it could be a definite possibility.
Yeah.
To really shake things up.
And one more question on this topic. What did you think of the interview with Tucker Carlson?
I thought it was pretty good. It was straightforward. Probably the question that I was impressed Tucker asked was, are you in fear of your life? You know, for these people, I'm not sure that was the exact question, but that's what he was asking with all the, everyone been going after him for so long, you know, are you in fear for your life? And he just made the comment that there's some very bad people out there, is the way he answered it. And yeah, it's a scary thing.
He has had people jump him on stage before.
Right.
There's videos you can find on YouTube of that. Yeah.
So yeah, but I thought because I've watched him speak at some of the other rallies, and it kind of, I don't mean it's canned, but even when I saw him live, he repeats the same things over, but the Tucker interview was kind of more fresh.
Yeah.
With different insights. So that's what I was impressed about with.
And speaking of Trump, let's move on to our next topic. So some people may remember a guy by the name of Corky Messner, Bryant Corky Messner. You know what I'm going to say. Yeah. He recently had a meeting with Secretary of State of New Hampshire, Dave Scanlon, asking for the secretary to take Donald Trump off of the ballot for the presidential election in New Hampshire because Trump has, in his eyes, violated the 14th Amendment. So I think this is a very underplayed topic. I think this is something people should be talking about a lot because it's someone that Trump endorsed, Corky Messner, when he ran for Senate back in 2020. So makes you wonder, why is he doing this?
Yeah, it's interesting. To throw out a common phrase, the deep state roots seem to go deep.
Yeah.
And actually, the tentacles touch a lot of people you may think it wouldn't touch. And that was real interesting. And what was actually interesting in our town, too, Gene Shaheen beat Corky Messner in our town in Northwood, but all the other Republicans won. I thought that was a little interesting.
Yeah.
He lost pretty big, but yeah, and I agree with Trump on the issue of loyalty. I mean, if you back somebody, you know, at least if you're not going to back them, don't try to hurt them. You know, that's just foolish what he's doing. It's just amazing. And I heard there's some other guy, I forget where he is, from Texas or something, now trying to file lawsuits in different states to do the same thing. It just really makes you wonder, why are these people so afraid of him?
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's
Yeah.
amazing the lengths they'll go to.
I doubt anything will come of this. I know, I've met Secretary Scanlon. I know him to be very fair to both sides. He's very nonpartisan. He's a Republican, but he's very nonpartisan. I don't expect anything to come of this, but I still think this is something people should talk about a lot.
Yeah.
Because it's a big deal. Someone's trying to get Trump off the ballot. So there's that.
It'll be the biggest write-in vote ever the country had if that was to happen.
Yeah, I had a couple people message me when that came out saying, I'm just going to write him in.
There you go.
If it happens so-and-so. But, all right, so another topic. There was a 12-year-old boy at an elementary school, I forget where. The school was called Vanguard, I think. I don't know where. But he wore a Gadsden flag patch on his backpack, which is that yellow flag with the snake that says, "Don't tread on me." And the teachers asked him to take it off, and he said no. And he got in trouble because they said it had roots in slavery, which, if you know history, basic history, you'll know it doesn't. It's from the American Revolution, and it's a symbol for, you know, British don't mess with us, from the Revolution. And when the parents and the student had the meeting with the school admin, his mother was recording it, and it went viral, and that kid is now free, I guess. He's back in school. I heard he got elected class president at his school. So I think that's a big deal for free speech.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, I didn't follow it much. I just saw a couple snippets, so I didn't even delve in as much as you just said. But yeah, it was interesting. I saw the school board actually went in and reversed that and let him keep it on his backpack. And we need, free speech is huge. I had somebody talking to me about, you know, it says you're for all the rights, you know, and I'm like, yeah. And he says, well, like what? I says, well, for free speech. He says, we have free speech. I'm standing here talking to you. And I'm thinking, you're missing it, guy. It's stuff like that. They're going to tell you what you wear and what you can't wear. And I already had one of my videos pulled down off social media because they didn't like what I said. So no, that's not free speech. We ought to be able to sit here like we're doing, conversing, put it out there, and show all sides. That's free speech.
I've worn several Trump hats to school before, because not only are the hats comfortable themselves, but, you know, I'm a Trump guy. And anytime anyone's like, hey, are you sure you can wear that? Teachers have never said anything because they know I can. But students, I always cite Supreme Court decision Tinker v. Des Moines from the Vietnam War era, in which children wore armbands to protest the Vietnam War, and they were suspended or expelled, I forget. But yeah, the Supreme Court deemed that unconstitutional, and now political speech is allowed to be worn on clothing at schools by students. So
Nice.
yeah, I think I'm glad that this got reversed. It was unconstitutional what the school did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. So that's it for topics. So now the rest of the show is on your campaign, which is the most important thing in the show, because your campaign will decide the balance of the House. So it's very important that you win.
Yeah, if this seat swings, which was won in November, it'll actually be tied. It'll be interesting. I don't think there's ever been a tie in history in the State House. So it'll be 199, 199, and then two independents.
Yeah.
Apparently. So, yep, we're running. And it's interesting, the dynamic, because you have the folk at the state level concerned about the seat. Me, I'm more grassroots level, and I'm concerned about the folk in Northwood and Nottingham. because the last rep, due to medical issues, was not able to go there and represent the people. And that's what a state rep does, represents his district in the community which he represents. So he wasn't able to get up to the State House at all. I heard he just went up the one day, organizational day, got sworn in, but wasn't able to get up there after that. And that's a big concern in the two towns, that they be represented. So that is my main thrust in running, to represent the community, be the voice for the community, and bring our principles and values to the State House, because I think sometimes smaller towns like we're in get overshadowed by the bigger towns like we're sitting in. They seem to get a little louder voice, and so people have asked me, are you going to be able to stand up for things? I says, well, I'm a preacher and I get pretty loud, so I got no problem talking or standing up for you guys there. So
Yeah. And what prompted you to throw your hat in?
well, as I was sharing with you earlier, just, I don't want to make that a long story, but I felt some shenanigans were going on, and I don't like to see a seat go open. There was a representative that was someone was going to run for that, stepped down from the race, and we were looking for somebody. And because I'm part of the GOP party, I got a notice from the GOP chair, and I just thought, okay, I'm going to throw my hat in the race. And then when somebody else actually put their name in also, I just prayed about it. I mean, I'm a man of God, and I felt God still wanted me to run for it anyway, so here I am. And we had the primary on August 1st, and I won that. So now we're just moving forward.
Yeah.
So.
And what are your priorities in the State House in terms of legislation?
Well, I've been asked different things and what committees to be on, and honestly, I hadn't given it much thought. I thought it was interesting, especially in the primary. I told the person that asked me, I haven't even won the primary yet. So, honestly, I'm more of a local level person, because we have a state rep from our town. I never gave much thought other than being informed on what was going on. So, but I'm just concerned with, that some of the issues that have gotten shut down, like the parental rights issue was big. I cannot believe, one, we even had to have a discussion over that.
Yeah.
And then two, we couldn't even get it passed because people didn't show up.
I was at the State House the day they were considering that, and not only did some people not show up, but some of the Republicans were stubborn and voted against it, which doesn't make any sense.
It's a common sense thing, and again, that's why I'm going. I just want to bring some common sense back. Why are we having discussion about transgenderism? Why are we having discussions, should men go into women's bathrooms or, participate in women's sports? Why are we even having these kind of discussions?
Yeah.
It's just to bring common sense. Like I say on my flyer, live free and die is not just a motto anymore. It's a way of life here.
Yeah.
We want to be free. We want to be able to have the freedoms, God-given freedoms that He's given us. So when I say I back freedom of speech, also freedom of religion. I can't believe the churches were deemed non-essential during COVID. That's never happened before. To shut down the church, where people go and look for solace and comfort at the time of need. They were, and to quote the governor, he didn't shut them down. Well, you did. You said you couldn't have more than 10 in attendance. You basically shut them down.
Yeah.
So these are some of the things I'm running for. Just common sense stuff, common sense legislation, and to preserve the New Hampshire way of life. We're just regular down-to-earth folk, like hunting and fishing, loving community, educating our kids, and we don't need all this craziness that seems to be wanting to creep in.
Yeah. And your opponent, Hal Rafter, he's ran for this spot a couple times. What are your thoughts on him?
Well, I don't like to, I put it this way, when it's night and day between me and him. When I'm for, he's against. And it's obvious, I'm a conservative Republican, and he is a strong left-leaning Democrat. Some would say pretty radical, some would even used the word socialist. I don't know. I don't know the man that well. I mean, during the primary, we were standing there together and chatted a bit. He's a nice enough guy. You know, I don't agree with his policies, obviously. He's actually got a TV commercial running where he talks about choice being on the ballot. I don't even understand that. We have a law in the state, and, you know, I'm going to uphold the law. You know, it might not be my preference where it's at, but, you know, so I don't understand that. And, you know, he wants to keep education the way it is or go more radical with it. I'm for money following the child. Parents ought to have a choice in the education of their children.
Yeah.
Get the best education for it. And then with the climate agenda that he mentions, you know, I don't want to see anybody lose their gas stove or their propane heating system and go to all electric cars. I mean, should we protect the environment? Absolutely. Should we be good stewards of this earth? Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, one thing I like to say when I'm thinking about the environment, I like to think of myself as a Teddy Roosevelt environmentalist, not a Greta Thunberg
Oh, there you
environmentalist.
go. There you go.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And one thing your opponent has been very adamant about is he seems to be really anti-police.
Yeah.
Like, very much.
Yeah, there's a clip going around that, well, I'll just say, when we talked about earlier Trump not being wise and some of the things he said, he kind of stepped in it himself because he was actually looking to fill a position on the budget committee in Nottingham, and they asked him, well, if we had nothing else we could cut, how would we help balance the budget or bring the budget down, something like that? And he mentioned, well, you might have to cut personnel at that point, which is true. You know, he should have left it at that, but he said, well, like EMTs and police, I don't know why he went there particularly. That wasn't a really smart place to go. You know, I'm the fire department chaplain in town, and I've gone out on a few calls. Unfortunately, they always call me when there's a death in town, but I've been out to, probably the first call I went to was an accident where the person actually ended up dying in the vehicle, but it was a vehicle extraction, and it blew me away to see how hard these guys worked and everything they did possible to save that life. It was just so impressive to actually be there and see it. And, you know, when it comes to life and death with the fire department and the police department, you can't, you know, that's just so important.
Yeah.
You know, the sanctity of life is just so important. And for people that just want to nickel and dime the police department and fire department, they want to do that until it happens to them. You know, there's a fire near my house. I actually walked over to it when the call came in. And the woman was so irate, and where was the fire department? It took them 20 minutes to get here. And you don't think that the fire department's so important until it happens to you. And every second counts, you know, and it's bad because, like, all departments, you know, we're struggling to find people, and the man of the departments, especially smaller towns like us, that's one of the things we deal with. You know, just trying to make sure we're manned 24 hours a day, and that's sometimes an issue. We're there, you're right, and that was the timely fashion we could get to, and people are on call, and they jump in their vehicles, get to the firehouse, and go. But yeah, sometimes there's a little delay. But we can't be cutting back on equipment, personnel, anything like that.
Well, we here in Derry can relate, because I don't know if you've heard about what happened here in 2015, but we had a town council at that time that was like super in favor of cutting taxes, which is good, but they did it in all the wrong ways, because they decided to close one of our 4 fire stations, laying off that entire part and laying off some police staff. And so that vote was 4-3 on the town council. And the citizens of the town basically got so mad that they filed a petition, because it turns out they had gone against the rules. And yeah, it was overturned in a town vote. The town voted on it. And all the councilors that voted for that lost when they were, the next time they were up for re-election. So yeah, as you were saying, first responders are one of the most important parts of a local government, because that's kind of
Absolutely.
what they are. They're
Absolutely.
kind of government. And
Right. And I mean, people have no qualms pouring money into school, and we need to educate the kids. It's not that. But when you look at the budgets of towns and how it breaks down, the school, like in our area, is 70% of the tax rate.
yeah,
You know, and it only, you know, we had 300 and some odd kids that go to school, and then the rest of the town runs on the town budget, which the emergency services is part of. And,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's just so important. Like I said, seeing it firsthand, being there. You know, I got a brother that's actually a firefighter here in Derry. You know, a stepson that's a police officer. I got nephew that was a police officer.
Yeah.
Both my parents were in the military. We got to take care of our veterans too. They've already done the work. We need to make sure we take care of them. I didn't realize we don't even have a veterans hospital in this state. You know, we had to work on that and get that straightened out. I mean, that's horrible here in New Hampshire.
yeah. And using Derry as an example again, people were okay with the higher taxes if it meant that we got better stuff for our first responders.
Right.
And that fire station that they closed, it's open again.
Nice.
I rode by it on my bike on the way here.
Good.
So we are almost out of time. We got a couple minutes left, so feel free to give a closing statement.
Okay. Well, like I said, I'm running for state rep on the Republican side, and yeah, it's going to be a critical election. And again, it's going to determine some of the policies and legislation that can come ahead. So if we want to keep the Hampshire way, live free or die, keep our freedoms, I'm the guy. And like I said, I don't pay much attention to the other guy. I like to just present myself. Here I am. This is what I stand with. I am going to represent the people at the State House. And if that's the type of person you want, I've already been twice elected as selectman, been in ministry over 30 years, presently pastor a church in Concord. All that means is I'm a little older and have a lot of experience, I guess. So seen a lot of things, you know, same with the drug problem and the addiction problem, counsel with people over that, especially being in the Concord area. So if you're from Nottingham, Northwood, watching this, I humbly ask for your vote on September 19th.
Thank you for being here. I wish you luck in your campaign.
Well, thank you, sir.
And I wish everyone luck in their first days of school. Let's do it. I'm Anthony Henry. This has been America's Ask. Thank you for watching.